Hurricane Arthur is strengthening over the Atlantic, so much so that it could hit as a Category 2.
It's threatening a big blow to the North Carolina coast for tomorrow's Independence Day. Chief Meteorologist Jason Boyer joins us live from Kill Devil Hills.
And Jason, what's the latest?
Well, the latest is here, another day of calm before the storm. Many beachgoers, obviously, and on our wind anemometer, I've been registering wind gusts at max about 10 to 15 miles per hour. Certainly nothing close to what they'll be later on tonight along these beaches and the entire Outer Banks. Let's get right to the latest on Arthur. It is still a strong Category 1 hurricane. It's only about 6 miles per hour shy of becoming a Cat 2 hurricane, and the National Hurricane Center thinks it will likely do that overnight tonight as it nears the shore of the southern part of North Carolina and the Outer Banks. Wind sustained now at 90 miles per hour. It's moving off to the north-northeast at a good forward momentum of about 13 miles per hour. And of course, the wind gusts are even stronger than those 90 mile per hour sustained winds. And we'll have the storm surge as well to deal with. Let's talk about its track. When does it start to get closer to the shore? Well, overnight tonight into the early morning hours, we'll have the track close to the Outer Banks. It's the southern Outer Banks south of Cape Hatteras, so we'll likely feel the brunt of the storm. That is north and east of Wrightsville Beach, where the storm surge will be greatest. The wind speeds will be greatest as the eye wall likely does touch land and gets those winds up to 100 plus miles per hour sustained. And eventually that track's going to take it rapidly out to sea north and east and push it farther away from Cape Hatteras. Where we stand in Kill Devil Hills, of course, there will be some storm surge, some beach erosion, and strong winds, but we're not expecting the worst of the storm, thankfully, here. Let's talk about the wind speeds themselves. We will find those gusts along the coast reaching 50 to 60 miles per hour up here in Kill Devil Hills, and much stronger south, again, the southern end of the Outer Banks reaching 100 plus miles per hour with those wind gusts as well. The impacts, well, of course, the storm surge about 2 to 4 feet, still expected to remain around that. That will put water on the beaches in many places, washing out some highways that parallel the beaches farther south. And we'll have a lot of rain, 2 to 4 inches of rain, some isolated tornadoes inland, and of course the winds sustained between 60, 75 miles per hour for many locations here in the Outer Banks. Of course, it's the calm before the storm now, but we will see a big change later on tonight. Many folks, though, still getting out on those beaches today, enjoying one more day of fun in the sun before Arthur arrives. Even with the storm of this intensity, some vacationers and folks we talked to weren't ready to change any of their plans.
Yeah, we're staying. We heard they were evacuating Hatteras Island and Ocracoke, but, you know, it's supposed to curve out. So it's a, minimal Cat 2, 90 mile an hour. That's concrete and brick. We'll take it.
And that seems to be the sentiment of many residents as well. We walked around, drove around, didn't see many people boarding up, only a few places. So the idea here is it'll come, it'll go quickly, and we'll get right back to business with our holiday weekend. Reporting live along the Outer Banks in Kill Devil Hills, Jason Boyer, News 13.
Right now, Hurricane Arthur is a Category 1 storm, but it's likely to become a Category 2 before it makes landfall.
News 13's Jason Boyer has been tracking the storm's path for days. He's live tonight in Kill Devil Hills.
And Jason, are the conditions starting to worsen there?
Only slightly. The biggest change in just the last few minutes, some dark clouds rolling overhead and a few drops of rain. There's also a lot of mist over the ocean. But right now the wind's very calm, and overall it was a great beach day. Let's get right to the current statistics on Arthur. It remains a strong Category 1 hurricane. As you mentioned, it's likely going to turn to a Category 2 hurricane overnight tonight. That would put its winds sustained at 96 miles per hour or greater. Right now it has sustained winds of 90 miles per hour. Still on a good forward motion there, moving north-northeasterly at 14 miles per hour. That's going to put it closer to shore here in the next few hours. And it's likely the southern Outer Banks that will get hit the hardest. That's south of Cape Hatteras down through Ocracoke Island and Pamlico Sound. Here along Kill Devil Hills, we'll certainly get our fair share of wind and rain, but the worst of it will be a little farther south. Let's get right to the track, too. Here's where it's headed. North-northeasterly now. It is going to mostly impact those areas farther south of where we are again. The southern Outer Banks could have a landfalling hurricane sometime later on tonight towards midnight, and thereafter the eye moves out to sea and farther away from the Outer Banks rather quickly. So the conditions will likely improve quickly tomorrow, late morning into the afternoon, and I wouldn't be surprised if many beachgoers are right back out here later on tomorrow in the day on the 4th, even though the 4th of July fireworks have already been canceled. All right, let's talk about intensity in terms of wind speeds. We're going to see the winds easily reach 50 miles per hour here where I'm standing. Could have gusts over 60 miles per hour later on tonight. That will cause some damage, of course, not widespread, but just some minor structural damage, of course, expected here. Let's talk about the impacts elsewhere. We'll have 60 to 75 mile per hour sustained winds, gusts over 100 miles per hour farther south with a 2 to 4 foot storm surge, putting a lot of water here along the beaches, but nothing of any significance as you go farther north of here. Most of the beach erosion will occur farther south. Now, driving around today, we expected to see many boarding up and getting ready to hunker down. That was not the case, though, at all. At a local Ace Hardware, shelves remained fully stocked. While it was busy at times, the only thing people were buying up, flashlights and batteries, not nails, screws, and plywood. Those that live and build here understand why.
No, I don't see anybody boarding up. I think everybody, this is not a big one. I mean, it's the first one, so I think that's what's making everybody move about more so than anything, being the first one.
Now, businesses approaching this storm the same way, many not planning on boarding up either. Emergency management officials are on standby, ready to go out when the storm comes in and take on whatever is necessary. They hope residents and visitors heed the warnings and do take it more seriously, because there could be a Category 2 storm again down here south of the Outer Banks later on tonight. So we're going to brace for the worst. Right now, we have wind speeds registered between 15 and 20. That's all. Reporting live in Kill Devil Hills, Jason Boyer, News 13.
Hurricane Arthur brings pouring rains and whipping winds to the coast, but it has yet to make landfall.
Chris Watkins and his family from Waynesville sent us this video from Oak Island showing heavy rain bands and wind gusts up to 90 miles an hour. Arthur's expected to become a strong Category 2 hurricane as it moves closer to the North Carolina coast.
Some mandatory evacuations have already been issued for parts of the Outer Banks. News 13's Chief Meteorologist Jason Boyer joins us live from Kill Devil Hills.
Jason, are people there heeding the warnings?
Well, that's certainly the hope when the warnings were issued. Now, the mandatory evacuations, yes, they have gotten off the island. Some folks may remain. Those folks are kind of left out there to fend for themselves. In the next 72 hours, emergency management officials say you're on your own if you haven't evacuated. Here, a little different story. We'll talk about that in a second. Let's show you the current conditions on what is a strong hurricane now, a strong Category 1 hurricane, Arthur, packing winds of 90 miles per hour. It is on a forward momentum now of north-northeasterly path of 13 miles per hour. That's a good speed. The good news is this is likely going to increase in speed as it passes by the Outer Banks, with worst weather farther south of where we are here in Kill Devil Hills. Let's show you the track, a closer view, and yes, it will impact the Outer Banks in a big way, already impacting Wilmington, Wrightsville Beach, Surf City, all that surge coming up overnight tonight, a good 2 to 4 feet, maybe a little higher in some cases. The wind sustained at 60 to 75, gusts easily reaching 100 plus miles per hour though, as the system will likely come very close to making landfall, if not an official eye making a landfall later on this evening and overnight. Here in the Kill Devil Hills area, we're not going to get as strong of winds, maybe not as high as surf, but there's going to be plenty of rain, plenty of wind nonetheless. Let's show you what the winds will look like here. Sustained winds likely between 45 and 60 miles per hour here in Kill Devil Hills. And again, as I mentioned, hurricane force winds very likely for several hours, possibly down through the Cape Hatteras area. Otherwise, impacts will be the storm surge, the rainfall, and some minor flooding. Now, emergency management officials are preparing for the worst, ready for anything that comes their way later on in the evening hours. And folks, again, the fire department headquarters in Kill Devil Hills are normally going to see about a 4 to 5 man staff any given day. For this storm, though, they're ready to double and more than double that staff, preparing for the worst.
Right now, we're preparing for the storm. We're expecting to hit after 8 o'clock tonight. So we're trying to ensure that we have enough staff here to handle whatever type of emergency we may face.
And again, a staff of normally 4 to 5 will be more than double for the storm and the storm's aftermath, which will certainly be no day at the beach. First responders hoped that they would lead by example, but many folks around here, business owners and residents, not that concerned. Reporting live in Kill Devil Hills, Jason Boyer, News 13.